The Fox City SCORE chapter and WHBY are pleased to bring you Biz Talk, a chance for you to hear from entrepreneurs and professionals as they share their experiences from starting to sustaining growth. Learn the skills needed for your business to be successful. If you missed anything, you can catch the Biz Talk podcast at biztalkwithscore.com. And now from the Myron Construction Studio, it's Biz Talk on WHBY.
Good morning and welcome to Biz Talk with SCORE. I'm Terry Pinch, co-host this week, and joining me this week is a voice from the past. He was a co-host on the show for about 6 years. Pat Lowney, welcome back.
Good to be back, Terry.
Thanks, and we're glad to have you. I'm sure you spent the 6 months since you were off sitting around home reading books and not doing much, right?
Yeah. I've been doing income taxes, and I'm just kind of coming up from that, so I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, good. All right. So our guest this week is Jessica Williams from Whimsical Celebrations. And Jessica, we'd like to welcome you to the show.
Thank you for having me. Super excited.
Okay. Jessica, let's get started by having you fill everybody in about your background and what led to this business.
Sure. So my background is pretty diverse. I worked for 6 years for the state of Wisconsin in 3 different departments. The military affairs with the Wisconsin Challenge Academy located at Fort McCoy that helps at-risk youth, 16 to 18-year-olds, get back on track and get a high school equivalency diploma. Then I worked for workforce development, working with the career seekers throughout the state of Wisconsin, as well as the apprenticeship program. And then I also worked under Secretary Zimmerman under former Governor Scott Walker. I was a state representative for veterans throughout the whole state of Wisconsin to focus on what was called EQ'd, entrepreneurship, employment, and higher education. I also served in the Army Reserves for 9 years. I was, when I got out in 2020, I was a staff sergeant. That is what's called an E6 or an NCO, non-commissioned officer. It's kind of like a manager. My roles were human resources, postal operations, and a career counselor. So I would do the re-enlistment contracts of soldiers. I also was a contractor. Throughout most of my career, I was helping veterans and military spouses with employment. So writing resumes professionally, private, state, federal, conducting job fairs, hiring events, workshops, anything, you name it. So where Whimsical Celebrations comes from is, for the most part, my entire career was always related around events. In high school, I organized various different organizations and events. Throughout college, I was a CA in the dorms, community advisor, putting on social and educational events, and then working for the state. I would put conferences, conventions, and then even the military, I would organize your military dining ins or dining outs, such as like a gala or a ball. I've also been an intern with the city of Oshkosh. I did a citywide family event as well as working for the Children's Hospital. So long story short, everyone looks at my career and they're like, where in the world did you get event planning from? Military and working for the state. And the thing is, every job I had, I was always the one organizing this or that.
And I take it you enjoyed it.
Oh, I loved it. There's always some stress, don't get me wrong, but I really kind of thrive on stress. Everyone says, you're always everywhere. Like, what's going on? You're in the city, the state within like a week. It's crazy.
Okay, so when most people go to events, they just show up and they take part and have fun, but they don't know much of what goes on in the background, especially me. What's involved in event planning?
There's a lot of details that you have to pay attention to. So your everyday average clientele, audience, anyone that's a guest usually does not understand or see what I see. Okay, so first off, you got to figure out the venue, right? Now, the venue is really important because you have to figure out, is there enough capacity? Is there enough parking? Is it a prime location? If you have in a remote place, you might not get attendees. It all depends on that. Then you got to look at the food and beverages. How much is that going to cost? What are the laws and regulations and licenses and permits? Then you got to look at decorations. What's going to be in awe without breaking the bank, whether it's centerpieces. Depending on what the event is, it could be for professional business where it's a conference, so you're going to look at speakers. Well, you got to get to them in advance because they have schedules. So you got to coordinate who is going to come at what time. You got to have a timeline. You most likely want to have an agenda or a planner. So then there's printing involved. And then you want to make sure you're reviewing and editing for grammar, because the littlest mistake someone will point out, and that makes people unhappy. But most events, even like weddings, everyone's going to either say it was a fantastic event because, one, the food was great or not, your music was great or not, and then just the overall vibe. But you also can't control your guests and their amount of fun, right? In the end of the day, it's kind of up to them. They're going to either have fun or not. You can do as much as you can, and you really want to provide every and all possibilities for extroverts and introverts to enjoy themselves. But as an event planner, I have to very much try not to take it to heart. If there are those negative comments or someone didn't have a great time, at the end of the day, it always takes two, my side and theirs, and ensuring its smoothness. So event planning is always about prior, but then also the day of the event. So as a coordinator as well, I need to make sure that everything's running smooth. So setting up, making sure everyone is where they need to be, providing all the directions on parking and the sections and measurements. And I was never a woodworker or a math person, but now I need to be, because this helps tremendously. So that's kind of a very surface level of all the details. And then when you get into more personal, like bridal showers, baby showers, it's all the little things, like the little giveaway, the party favors, the welcoming, the card box, things like that.
What percentage of the work you do happens like the day before or the day of and everything before that?
If you're looking at a statewide convention, so I actually won the bid for the Wisconsin State Human Resources Convention that's happening in October. We've been in conversation on developing this since February, and their event is in October. So you're looking at 6+ months, especially when you are anticipating a very large event with many different moving pieces, such as a committee, and expecting over 1,200 people. So that's a few months of just working with different vendors. If it's just a birthday party, usually you want at least a month in advance notice, mostly because you want to give your guests time to get the invitations and prepare for it. For the most part, I'm a very organized person, so if someone really called me last minute and said I need a party tomorrow, if I'm not busy, I could probably throw something together. But ideally you want about a week or two beforehand. The night before is always busy for me. I'm probably up till 3 a.m. just ensuring I haven't missed anything, because I load up my car, making sure I didn't miss anything. I, of course, need to do social media because that's huge for small businesses for marketing. So I'm always creating videos, which takes me longer because I need to put out that content, the showing, hey, this is what I'm doing, and this is what you are missing out on if you don't hire me, type of deal. And then the day of the event, on average, 2 to 3 hours prior for setup at minimum. And that is really just decoration. So you're going to look at maybe 6 hours, depending on all the logistics, depending on, again, depends on the event and how many people and where it's at.
Okay. And what type of events and activities do you support, and what have you added to your business as you've learned?
So I'm very unique where I like to provide personalization. So when I basically pitch my business, I am always focusing on every and all celebrations, focusing on personal, so birthdays, anniversaries, date nights, a celebration of a promotion or an open house, or for businesses, whether it's a ribbon cutting, a grand opening, or you want to celebrate 3 years, 10 years, you're looking for team building. So this is kind of where I was probably starting. Bridal showers, baby showers, birthdays, anniversaries, surprise birthdays. Some things that have grown is I didn't really want to enter the wedding industry because it's saturated. There's a lot of people out there. However, as I've done research on social media, a lot of bride and grooms are always looking for a day of coordinator or an officiant. So I now officiate weddings. I actually got called because a specific bride asked me. It's funny because I told her no originally. And then I told my mom about it, and she's like, you public speak all the time. Why wouldn't you? I'm like, that's valid, very valid. So I told the bride I would do it, and now that is on my docket, as well as day of coordinating, which is basically just taking everything that the bride and groom had already done with the vendors and following up with them 2 weeks prior to the wedding at minimum, making sure that they know who I am, and then the day of making sure everything is running smoothly and being prepared for emergencies. So that's where my military come into play, because day of events, you have to be quick on your feet if something comes up. If there's a problem, who do you talk to? How can you solve it? I don't need to necessarily freak out and figure out, oh my goodness, who can help me? No, I just know I can take care of it and just do the job. Other unique ones, as we were chit-chatting before we started the show, I do minnow races. Minnow races are little troughs with real live minnows, and the goal is to blow through a straw to encourage your minnow to swim to the other end of the trough. That's been pretty popular for Gulf outing. So companies have hired me to basically provide a unique outside-the-box thinking activity. So that's been added. Another huge one are murder mystery dinners. Murder mystery dinners are popular for most restaurants where they bring out a company inside. The difference between them and myself is mine's personalized. You're going to tell me exactly who you want to invite. I will create the invitations and send them to each of your family and friends, and then they're invited and told what their character is based upon the theme that the client chose. I then go to that house. So most likely it's usually at someone's house or a venue of their choice, and I bring all the decorations to fit that theme as well as all the dishware. So disco, roaring 20s, theater, and then the entire evening is truly your closest family and friends and actually being part of the crime solving mystery. And it's about a 4-hour worth of entertainment. I just don't provide the food, but I can assist with, of course, organizing and contacting vendors for that.
Okay. So let's go back to starting up the business. First of all, how'd you come up with the name?
I'm going to try to make this as short as possible. Whimsical Celebrations came about because I was looking for advice, right? Some from family and friends, and people gave me all these great ideas. So someone said Paranorma Jamboree. And I'm like, well, Paranorma doesn't make sense for me. But Jamboree, I like, okay, Jamboree Jessica. So I need to find a W word. And I came across Whimsical. I've never heard of Whimsical in my life, and I'm 36 years old. So I don't know. Apparently I'm lacking my vocabulary. And I loved it. I thought it was quaint. It was beautiful. And so when I was searching for like, okay, well, I want something else because now I don't like Jamboree. Whimsical doesn't make sense. Celebrations is what I wanted to highlight. I'm single and I'm not married. I would love that, yes. And I don't ever want to diminish anyone that's married, but at the same time, I want to make sure that those of us that are single and haven't found that right person, it doesn't mean that you can't celebrate other things. And why can't we take a moment to enjoy our family and friends? And I feel that COVID also kind of showed that to us. Like we're missing the in-person connection. We're missing that fun and creating those memories. And when you have someone assist you on providing something that's unique and maybe outside your comfort zone, but you feel safe, you feel comfortable, you're most likely going to remember it. So that's where celebrations came into play. Now I have to pick and choose between that because Google algorithms always want event and party. I'm an event and party planner. I have to say that because that's what everyone knows. Celebrations is kind of hard for people to figure out. So where does it come with the logo? Figuring out Whimsical led me to a peacock, and a peacock is quaint and beautiful and elegant. I actually grew up on a hobby farm and I had peacocks. So did my grandparents. One of ours died naturally and it was stuffed. So we have a legit peacock in my grandparents' house. And then the paint splatter behind became because my very first event that really got me starting to think of having my own business was put art in party. We're dressing for a mess. Just for a mess, we're putting art in party. So I had an art party, and it was the most party I've ever had in my entire career in my life because I do one every year, and it was because it was different. Everyone wore white. We tie-dye with squirt guns. We did a slip and slide with paint. We threw darts at paint-filled balloons. It was a great way. So my logo basically shows that I can do beautiful and elegant, like as your bridal showers and weddings, but I also can do minnow races, art parties, things that are unique and outside the box, if you don't mind a little shadiness in that.
Okay, we're at the time for our first break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be back after these messages.
Welcome back. We're glad you joined us this morning. Our guest is Jessica Williams, the owner and founder of Whimsical Celebrations. And before we continue our conversation with Jessica, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Fox City Score chapter. Fox City Score serves an 8-county area from Waupaca to Montello and Appleton to Fond du Lac. We have about 35 volunteers, each an expert in their field, offering entrepreneurs no-cost and confidential mentoring and educational opportunities. From initial business planning through the day you decide to exit your business, SCORE's team of experts can mentor you in all aspects of your business. To register for a no-cost confidential mentoring session and or to learn more about the Fox City SCORE chapter, visit our website at score.org/Fox Cities. You can learn more about how the SCORE chapter can assist you with starting and or growing your business, and you can complete an application for a mentoring session. Simply complete the online form and submit it to SCORE. Within a few days, the SCORE mentor will be contacting you to set up a meeting. Remember, SCORE is no cost and offers experts who can assist you in many different areas. To get started, visit our website at score.org/Fox Cities. And to support small business people, the Fox City SCORE chapter is always looking for new mentors. If you have experience that you'd like to share with others, we'd love to talk to you. We welcome volunteers with experience in all aspects of business. Small business owners need your help and your experience, and it can make a real difference in their success. Go to score.org/Fox Cities, click on the volunteer button, and fill out the short application. We'll get back to you and explain more. Thanks again for joining us at SCORE and BizTalk, and we'll get back to Jessica. So, Jessica, I want to ask you how you started your business. You've been in business for 2 years, correct?
Correct.
So how did you start? Did you do it part-time first and then move to full-time? Did you just start out full-time? Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So I started part-time. I was still working for the state with the apprenticeship program, and I started just developing the logo, the name, and because I'm a planner, I tend to want all the details. However, as people were hearing that I wanted to start this, I was getting a lot of feedback and suggestions of just jump, because if you don't jump now, you never will. And I was like, but I need all these details. They're like, you'll be fine. Most businesses just bootstrap it and go to town. So I was recommended by a fellow veteran to get your EIN number at minimum. Get that taken care of, and then you're good to go. So that was a great, feedback or suggestion. I didn't know what I was doing. I gave, tips on entrepreneurship, but it was really more so guiding people to resources. So that's where it started. Started kind of small, just kind of putting my name out there. And what I mean by that is networking. So when it comes to small businesses, there's a lot of networking groups, pretty much in every city and every county, where you get together and you basically pitch your business. You're doing your elevator pitch of what you're doing. Then I came across, as being an Army veteran, I came across the Venture Project in Oshkosh. They were having a venturepreneur type of program. It was 9 weeks long. And so I signed up for it. It was free. I was part of the pilot program. There was about 6 or 8 of us veterans that got to learn. And it was like a crash course, talking about marketing, your branding, your who, your what, your why. It's great that I want to do this, but would my clients want this? I got to make sure there's that. So that was a great starting point, and I really started making connections from there. Then from that, I came across the Venture Center at Fox Valley Tech College, and with Amy Peach, and she's a huge component of my success. I truly believe this. The funny thing is when I worked for the Secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs, I got to travel the state delivering grant checks to nonprofits and organizations. So when I walked in as a student at the Venture Project for this innovator program, I was like, oh my goodness, I was here. This is Twilight. I was just here 2 years ago delivering a check, and I had no idea would ever become a student. So it was just really fantastic to be in another program with fellow veterans, because we all kind of get to know one another, and we're automatically friends. We have that camaraderie, might not have served together, but we just have that connection. And that program was phenomenal, and it still is. Amy's always available. She brings in other businesses, other mentors, other suggestions, resources. I can call her anytime, and that really provided the foundation of making sure that I remembered my why, but also making sure what appeals to my potential clients to actually be successful. I would say I started in August of 22, and then in January of 23 is when I decided to go full time. I was also going for my master's for public administration, which no longer made sense with my own business. And I was overwhelmed because Whimsical took off way faster than I expected. And so I was pretty blessed to go full time right away.
What do you think was what caused, or what was driving that jump that, you knew you were going to go full time so quickly?
I'll be vulnerable. I was extremely depressed and very flustered with my life. When I worked for the secretary, it was my dream job. Everything was perfect. But due to politics and budget cuts, my job was cut. Then COVID hit. And I kept on finding myself the last 4 years just doing everything I thought I was supposed to do, right? Society says, work hard, get these degrees, do the military, do all these things, and you're going to be great and successful. But every time I lost a job due to budget cuts or politics. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So unfortunately, I was very unhappy. And I was like, I don't know what else to do because this is frustrating. And it all became down to, I'm a disabled veteran. And so I was with my counselor at the VA. And she's like, you had an awesome time at your art party. Like, you just glowed when you're talking about it. Did you ever think about becoming an event planner? And the thing is I've always wanted to throughout my life and career, but the problem is Wisconsin's conservative. People don't pay for these types of services. California, Florida, Texas, they're going to pay big bucks for these elaborate parties. So I was kind of concerned, like, I don't know if people are going to pay it. And a downside is, as much as I have great self-confidence, I have a lack of self-worth. I wasn't sure if I was worthy enough because my entire career has always been service driven. So it's hard to want to charge someone for my service when I'm so used to like the government always paying me to always go above and beyond. And I got paid. And if I did extra work, it didn't matter because that's me. And I will talk to you about the social media and what I'm doing with the community because I believe in helping others. And so there's that service. So that's my little vulnerable story, but that's what made me jump.
Good for you. Good for you.
Thank you.
We're at the right spot for our second break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Biz Talk with Score. We're talking to Jessica Williams from Whimsical Celebrations, and we'll get right back to Jessica. But first, I wanted to give you a quick update on some upcoming educational opportunities. As we talk about regularly, if you go to the SCORE website, you have the opportunity to find hundreds and even thousands of different videos and webinars and training sessions that are just excellent for people. And in most cases, they're free. So there's two I want to mention that are coming up because they're very focused on how to sell, whether to customers or to clients and getting funding and et cetera. So two opportunities to learn more about selling. One of them is elevate your pitch game, getting clients, customers, and funders to say yes, and that's on June 20th. Another one is B2B Sales 101, how to develop an effective B2B strategy, and that's on June 25th. They're both webinars, so you can go online and attend. There will probably be videos on the site a few weeks later, but you can definitely attend live, and that's where you get the best interaction and can ask questions. So again, elevate your pitch game on June 20th and B2B Sales 101 on June 25th. You go to score.org/Fox Cities, and in the upper quadrant in the center, there's a workshops and events tab. Click on there, and you'll see on upcoming events. And you can go into there and find these and literally many more. So take advantage of that. It's a great resource to find out a lot of different things. So with that, we're going to turn back to Jessica. And Jessica, we want to spend some time now going into a lot more detail on your business and how it works. And let's go back to the beginning and talk about the things you offered initially. So you mentioned it quickly about your thinking around rentals and some of the event planning, but what's involved in the rentals? You have some huge warehouse out here with all sorts of stuff for people?
I wish. It's actually taking over my house. I got a little too excited, so I have been purchasing a lot. So that's going to become a problem. So we're going to talk about what I'm going to be doing about that. So originally I was like, okay, obviously I want to help decorate too. Like, I enjoy the creativity behind this, coming up with a fun theme, like the paint party, coming up with unique ones, not your standard, going on Amazon and getting dinosaurs. So the rentals is pretty much decorations, whether it's glass vases, table runners, silk flowers, easels, card boxes, and yard games are pretty popular. So that was the kind of the initial thing. So now it's been over a year and a half, and as much as I keep saying I have decorations and yard games to rent, people don't comprehend that. I don't know why. I think they're like, well, I could just get it on Amazon. Totally can. However, then you're stuck storing all that stuff or only using it once. So it should be more reasonable if you just rent from me, because a single vase at Hobby Lobby is $5. Okay, so if you have a party and you need literally 26 vases, that adds up. And now you're stuck with all those vases because you're probably not going to use them again unless you're similar to me that have always celebrations. So when you rent, you're only going to rent that vase for $1, right? Making sure like I get it back, because if you damage it, then of course now I'm out a $5 vase. So what I've created now is called Party in a Box. What I realize is, like myself, I love visuals. So I'm now going into all of my decorations and I'm staging. So if someone was interested in a baby shower, I would have 6 different themes. I would literally stage the photo with an accent chair, a backdrop, a table with the table runner, the centerpiece, the card box, the cards and gift sign, the guest book sign, and the easels. And I'm like, this whole box of everything that you need, if you have a party of 25 or less, it's $50. You get to pick it up, you do your thing, you bring it back, and then you're good to go. Of course, if your parties are more people, that means more centerpieces. So the idea behind this is that it's already done for you. I've created the entire theme for you, and I can also still personalize it. Perhaps you don't want green table runners, you want red. No problem. I have all of them to choose from. So my hope is, as I continue to stage and post these photos, that perhaps it might be a bigger opportunity where people are like, oh, that's so simple, and I can just pick it up. Now, if they want to go even more, where I drop off and pick up or set up and tear down, then of course the price might increase, but now clients have options.
Okay. And have you found that starting to be used more?
Yes. Everyone has really enjoyed seeing the posts. I just did one for graduation, which was super simple because we all know graduation decor, like you have your party and then you're done with it. So yeah, as soon as I continue to post more and more, I'm thinking I'm going to get a lot more clients that are hoping to do that.
Okay. So what are you going to do about all these things you're collecting?
Well, it's been stored in my garage, my basement, and every closet I have. And which is why Functional Living with April was a fantastic resource for me, because it became an issue where I became almost like a hoarder, where my home was work and it was overwhelming. So I actually hired her. She helped me kind of like realize, okay, this safe space, this is supposed to be comfortable and it's supposed to be home. How can you make your living space functional, but yet still do your business? Because I'm not at the point of being able to afford a warehouse, nor do I want to drive back and forth to a place. I want to already be home, because I need to do the decorations together. It's not like I just pull things out and bring them to the party. I have to put them together, add different colors. It's almost like I'm a decorator in a sense for when it comes to full on parties. So yes, I'm hoping to keep everything still organized. But that is a challenge because everyone wants personalization. So I don't necessarily want to try to keep buying things that are only going to be used once or twice for themes, but themes that are pretty popular. But murder mysteries for sure, and birthday parties that surround like your 80s and 70s and discos are always popular. Those have been used over and over again, which is beneficial for obviously me as well.
Discos are popular?
Yes, karaoke. I even bought a karaoke machine for those that want to have their own karaoke party, and I have purchased because, I want live stuff. Okay, so I have hunted. I have 3 lava lamps. I have some disco balls. I have a legit disco ball thanks to my parents. And I take the old records, the 45s, and I have made a backdrop. So I take fishing line and I create basically a backdrop of all of these vinyl because I want you to not just have just paper products. I like the vintage stuff. So I do a lot of shopping.
Okay. So jump around a little bit, but I do want to talk next is a little bit more about the work you do in weddings because it's so new. So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing in weddings and why.
Sure. So weddings seem, obviously, I shouldn't say seem, they are popular and it's always a the biggest event for most people. Not everyone always has celebrations or parties or block parties or neighborhood parties like I do. I just love people and I like to put things on. So for weddings, when it comes to officiating a wedding, typically, so in the state of Wisconsin, really you don't actually need an officiant per se. You actually just need 2 witnesses. However, it's nice when someone's up there and guiding the bride and groom through the process, because that's, difficult. Like, you're already nervous. You're also excited, like a million emotions are going on. So with that being said, I will talk to the bride and groom and I will figure out, how did your love story happen? What is that you would like? Would you want a short and sweet celebration ceremony or more of a longer one? Is it tradition? Is there any specific cultural or religious aspect that I should keep in mind? Are there any funny stories or quotes, mottos, songs that you're interested in? So I really go in depth with having a conversation and meeting the bride and groom. I really won't do anything if I don't meet you. You need to make sure that I'm a good fit for you and you're a good fit for me, type of deal. Day of coordinating is the same type of process. I have an entire list that I send anyone that's potentially interested to say, okay, well, what are your services? I do charge $100 an hour for day of coordinating because I don't just stand around. Day of coordinating is a lot. So it will be as little or as much, right? So setting up. So if you already did your own personal decorations and you just need someone that's not a family member or friend because they actually should be enjoying your wedding, I can take your decorations in advance. I know exactly how to set them up. I'm having that attention to detail, and I will stage them exactly where you need. Maybe it's the place cards, assisting any and all of the vendors. So knowing where the florist is supposed to be, where's the DJ supposed to set up? Did you have any additional activities such as a character or a guest book, or there's paintings, like there's all new things that are kind of happening with weddings. There's also assisting the DJ. Maybe you have a family friend DJ that doesn't really truly get into public speaking. If you need anyone like myself, I can introduce any of the speakers or really kind of guide anyone down the buffet line or let the table know that they're now able to get their food. It all depends on the venue and the bride and groom, but pretty much those 2 entities that I've opened up is because I saw a need. And I know that there's other coordinators out there, and I'm not concerned because, to be honest, there's only so many of us and there's tons of weddings always happening. And whether I'm a good fit for you or not, there's always someone else that might be a better fit. And, it's friendly competition, I guess.
Do you see trends happening, changing or anything in how weddings are happening? And, like an all-in-one event, do you have the service and a reception, everything in one place versus multiple places, or anything like that happening that a 65-year-old guy might not know about?
There's a few trends. So one is the decoration aspect. The boho, bohemian style is still pretty trendy, but it's also now going into the just simple greens, like very neutral. So your browns, tans, and greens, ivory. Another trend is, you just mentioned it, Pat, is, they want a venue that will include everything. They don't want to go from the church and then spend another 2 hours going to another location for cocktail and then going to another area. Another trend with that aspect is, what's interesting, is you're going to also see smaller weddings. So, for example, if I were to get married, my parents would be like, well, no, you need to invite so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so because they were in our wedding and because we're family and friends. Now, I'm an old soul. And so, of course, I would invite them because I probably have relationships with my parents' friends. But on the average millennial or Xer or whoever's younger than me, they do not know. We're going to invite only the people that we know, our closest family and friends, and not this extended stuff. So it's interesting because the parents of the bride and groom are losing control on that, which is kind of funny. The other small trend is everyone assumes that if you travel, right, overseas or somewhere else and have a destination wedding, that it's actually less stressful. That's not the case. It's actually more stressful. there's way more planning involved. And then you're also putting yourself in this position that your family and friends may or may not afford that. And so you have to be okay with the fact that someone will not be able to support you because they physically can't, they financially can't. And so there's some issues with that. And then the last one I'll mention is it's always the largest debate, kids or no kids. It's kind of crazy, and it sucks, and I understand, because of course it's the cost, it's the added, and how you word it and phrase it. And so, my goodness, if you go on Facebook and just the brides going on those comments, just positive and negative, and like everyone's got their opinion. So that one is something that you really have to be gentle with.
Let's talk a little bit about business event planning. What's the difference between that and the family personal type events that you plan?
I wouldn't say that the professionalism per se is different, but there is a kind of a higher standard in a sense. So when it comes to the professional events, you're probably going to, or I do, I should say, I incorporate with my services an additional free marketing. So if a business is doing a public event, I'll make sure I get their approval, but I will post on all of my social media platforms because I want to help encourage attendance. So professional events that I've done typically end up being a little bit more small business or nonprofits. So one was Center for Suicide Awareness. They were doing a huge fundraiser, and they hired me for 3 months to do their social media. That was every day, creating videos and posts, and also assisting with donations. And that was a public event. The whole goal was to fundraise and help fund Center for Suicide Awareness, that does cover all of Wisconsin and international, to help those struggling with mental health. This was near and dear to me, as I mentioned prior, vulnerably. I was not doing too hot before I started this job. And Center for Suicide Awareness is an organization that I was able to get my help before I was able to be allowed into the VA. So they're huge. Midday Women Alliance, also an organization for women entrepreneurs. They had hired me to assist with their Sip and Sparkle event. And they had like a month before they had to plan. So I really had to kind of assert my military assertiveness with this committee to really make things happen. So I assisted on kind of keeping them on track, like, hey, we need this as this and this, and this time, donations as well as decorations. Because these are public events, that's my name. That's their name. The downside to being an event planner, especially when I provide as little or as much services as the clients ask, sometimes that doesn't look the best for me, because I would have done things differently. But if they only hired me for just decorations, that's the only thing I can control. If they wanted me for everything, then of course I have more control of how that looks like. So when it comes to public events and businesses, there is that professional, it is that higher standard, and with looking at marketing. And there tends to be a lot more vendor usage, right? So a personal event, they might just hire me and I'm the one that's working with everything, and it's just me. So I might use different vendors, but I'm the one picking up, dropping off, coordinating, where other personal business events might incorporate many different vendors, and those vendors will be at the event. So it's a lot more coordinating. I don't know if that kind of helps, Terry. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
One thing I'd like to cover a little bit too is the fact you actually do a fair bit of social media training too. And well, that's not directly related to your business. It sort of is. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, my brother, Aaron Williams, he has been managing my dad's business, Coots Lures, for 4 years. And I kid you not, my dad has 250,000 followers. And it's all because of the way my brother has been doing social media. Now, when I was writing resumes for veterans and spouses, I was huge on LinkedIn. So I helped give classes on LinkedIn workshops. Now, that was from the job seeker standpoint, not necessarily marketing a business. So when Whimsical started, my brother was like, hey, I really suggest that you kind of get onto this. I mean, I've always done Facebook personally, but it's interesting because social media used to be where I was the consumer. Now I'm just the content creator. Like, people have difference of opinions, right? They think social media is bad and negative and it sucks the life out of you. It does, but I'm no longer someone that's scrolling and feeling bad about my life. I literally get to post and share and then leave. Like, it's awesome. So regardless, anyways, because of his training and because I have been being consistent with social media, I've only been in business for almost 2 years and I have over 2,000 followers just on Facebook. That's a huge number considering the fact that I just started. So what does that look like? Well, okay, well, you have followers. Does that give you any more business? It does, because it's the exposure. I'm not paying. I have to do the work, of course. But because I understand this, I'm now managing actually a few different pages. I am in the Oshkosh Breakfast Club and I manage their Facebook page, which is getting more traction because I'm helping these other small businesses get noticed. The biggest thing is when you talk to other small businesses, you obviously want to help them out, but you can't utilize them all. I have my house since 2019. I don't need another realtor. I don't plan on moving. So how could I help all my realtor friends that are in all these networking groups? Well, if I'm liking and following you on Facebook and I see you post, I can share that because all my people might not know that realtor. And it's free and it takes a few seconds, but it's the biggest impact. So when I started to do this for myself, I realized I could also assist other small businesses. With that also being said, I also run First Thursday Women's Networking Group. Same kind of concept. Us women meet once a month, getting together and connecting. And I took it on from someone and we met once a month, which is great, but that's not enough. So now I've been telling the ladies, hey, please message me, and I have no problem posting. As of last week, I created a new network group called Network Nexus. Basically, what I'm kind of sharing here is that there's a lot of great groups out there. HBBAs, BNIs, any type of networking groups. The only problem with these groups are they haven't really adjusted or changed. They have a lot of regulations. You have to be all female. You have to be a minority. You can't miss so many days. We can't do social media. And I've realized, you know what? When you are on social media, there's a lot of regulations for groups, so no one's able to actually post. You're not allowed to spam. You're not allowed to promote your business. Well, why not? Why wouldn't you want to support local? So Network Nexus is a public Facebook group now that all business can join. It doesn't matter. There's not one category for realtor. Every realtor could join if they want, from Fond du Lac to Green Bay. And because it's public, they're able to post anytime that they want. Of course, I want to ensure that there's respect, no discrimination or racism or anything like that. But giving them the opportunity to have a safe space, a comfortable place to always meet and greet.
Okay, thank you. Perfect. We are at the spot for our last break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Biz Talk. I'd like to thank our sponsors and donors who bring Biz Talk to you with Score to you each weekend. We couldn't present Biz Talk without their generous support. Thank you to Hailing & Associates. Hailing & Associates helps small businesses and individuals not just prepare tax returns, but look ahead to future tax returns, thereby helping minimize taxes for this year and beyond. Hailing & Associates, personal connection, positive results. A special thanks to the Business News for promoting our program in the biweekly business newspaper serving Northeast Wisconsin. If you aren't already subscribing to the Business News, you should. The paper is delivered biweekly and contains relevant and useful information about the business community in Northeast Wisconsin. We'd also like to thank and recognize the David L. and Rita E. Nelson Fund within the Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region for their generous donation in support of Biz Talk and Fox City Score. So, Jessica, as we kind of wrap up here this morning, where do you see yourself going in the next 12, 18 months?
Oh, boy. I assume with 12 to 18 months, I might actually get more small businesses asking for assistance with social media. I'm doing social media workshops, whether it's Instagram, Google, LinkedIn, and or Facebook. Been doing that at Lake Air Coffee Bar in Fond du Lac, supporting other businesses. So I have a feeling between my networking and social media that might increase.
Okay. And, you know, I want to compliment you on your energy and your ability to keep moving forward. You know, you've got a great story here. I found it really interesting that, you know, you're taking the approach and managing events like you are. I know from my own personal experience, in my professional life, there were times when I tried to be in control of what was going on and being in charge of some of the events we were doing and things like that. And I found out later on that if I had somebody else take care of that, I could actually enjoy the event that I was at, and I could actually maximize my time and energy and what I was trying to accomplish at that event also. So I know you mentioned earlier in the program that you people were telling you that this is more open to people on the coast, maybe California, New York, that kind of thing. But are you seeing that opening up more for you and for others in Wisconsin?
I think so, yes, because I'm actually the only one out there. You do have amazing events, but they focus on big corporations, and then Fun Pros focus more on bingo and trivia, where I'm here for your personal or business related things. And many people I've talked to have always stated, I've always wanted to be an event planner, but they never jumped. So it does help the fact that I am unique and I provide this. And in addition, all of these celebrations, like you mentioned, you're too busy doing your own logistics. You can't enjoy yourself. So a big part of what I would like to provide is that opportunity that I'm also hosting your event. I can welcome your guests. I can take care of garbage. I can set up and tear down. I can talk to the people that might feel left out or feeling awkward and really make it a safe and fun environment. And it's memorable because you're actually able to enjoy it because I took care of everything on the front end as well as during the day of, as well as tear down, because no one else wants to, at the end of their party, have to tear down and clean up. I can handle that.
Okay, Jessica, we really appreciate you having some time with us. It was a great show, really interesting conversation. Thank you. For our listeners, you can find more at our website, biztalkwithscore.com. We'll have previous shows for it's almost 6 years now out on that site. And this show will be out for you to listen again, because who couldn't listen to Jessica again? It'll be out there in probably 3 weeks or so. So thank you to everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.